Hello, fabulous entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to this episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 236, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes over at tashcorbin.com/236. In today's episode, I'm going to share my 5-minute post-call habit and how this habit grows my business. It's a really simple thing that you can do that escalates and elevates your business results really quickly. So let's dive on in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. We know as entrepreneurs that content is really powerful in attracting our ideal clients, nurturing them, helping them to understand our value, helping them to understand how we can support them further, helping them to move forward in their journey and convert them into paying clients. Content is such a powerful part of our business model. We also know that messaging is one of the critical foundations that allows us to be deeply resonant in our posting and our presence online, that allows us to really connect to our ideal client and help them understand our value proposition. Messaging is such a big part of our business because it covers so many different elements of what goes into our business model. Our messaging shows up in our posts on social, it shows up in our deeper content, it shows up on our sales pages and websites, and it shows up in our conversations that we have with our audience as well. So knowing that content is powerful and messaging is so critical to business growth and success, every group call that I facilitate and every VIP client call that I have is a gold mine. So every single time I run a group call, every single time I run a VIP one-to-one call with anyone in my business, I take 5 minutes after that call. In that 5-minute post-call habit, I take that 5 minutes to note down 3 key things. Number one, what were the challenges that were brought to me on that call? So whether the call was a large group coaching call for the Takeoff program or a very intimate one-to-one coaching client, I take note of what challenges were brought to me on that call. Now, with the bigger group calls in the Takeoff program, I'd probably note down 3 or 4 major challenges that were brought to me. In a VIP call, I'd probably note down maybe 1 or 2 of the major challenges that were brought forward to me that someone wanted me to fix for them. Now, imagine for your business with your clients and your messaging, your content, if you are working with a perfect ideal client and they come to a session with you and say, here's the problem, this is what I need, how powerful that content is to then go out and find more people just like that one. But how many of us jump from client session to client session, from call to call, and don't ever stop and take note of the exact thing that our ideal clients are asking us for when they have the opportunity to speak with us. So the first thing that I write down in that habit is what challenges were brought to me. The second thing is what were the key words and phrases that were included in the conversation from the client perspective. So how did they describe the problem? How did they describe what they thought the answer was? How did they describe the solution they were looking for? How did they describe the specific tangible experiences that they were having that told them this was a problem? That really helps me to refine my keywords, my key phrases, and the things I need to talk about in my content. This is so powerful in my messaging. Being able to speak to my audience using words and phrases that they use to describe what's going on. It's all well and good for me to diagnose their challenge as a niching issue, but if they think the issue is that they just don't know how to speak to their audience effectively, then I'm missing the mark. We're ships passing in the night if I don't use the words that they use to articulate that particular challenge or problem. It is my job to help my audience bridge the gap between where they think the problem is and what I can see is the deeper issue that may be causing all of that pain and strife that's coming up for them. And then the third thing that I note down in my 5-minute post-call habit is if I could proactively go and help 100 other people who had the same challenge, what would I need to say? So this is actually the basis of my content plan. I talk about my 5-minute post-call habit so often in my client calls, in my group calls, because it is such a useful way for people to refine their messaging. It is such a useful way for people to get clear on what content they need to be sharing. And guess what question I get asked over and over and over again? How do you come up with content? What do I say on my blog? What do I post about on social media? The answer is in tapping into the juicy resource that is the conversations you're already having. And if you're not having conversations with anyone just yet in your business, number one, find ways to have those conversations. And number two, you will be very equipped from day one to know how to make sure that you maximize the return for your business from those conversations. So just to recap, my 5-minute post-call habit is to stop and write down. Number one, what were the challenges that were brought to me in that call? Number two, what are the key words and phrases that my client used? And number three, if I could proactively go out and help 100 other people who have this same problem, what would I need to say? Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. I hope that's been a really helpful one for you. If you aren't 100% sure on how to identify your niche, your target market, and how to start having conversations with those people, then I would love for you to come and check out a new free resource that I have available. It's called Nail Your Niche, and it's based on a live training that I have run over 6 times in the last 2 years. I've now turned it into a self-study video training that you can access at any time. And all you need to do to access it is go over to the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/236, and I'll have the link there for you to enroll. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, thank you. I've been Tash Corbin. You have been a fabulous listener, and I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.